Hello and welcome guys, and here in this tutorial we are going to learn some advanced concept of lightning. As in our previous tutorials we have seen how we can work with the basic concept of lightning and how we can apply those concepts into a live project. So from today onwards we are going to implement some advanced lightning concepts that are going to be how we can create lightning component dynamically, that means at the runtime, so that we can increase the performance of our lightning component. How we can create models using lightning component, the same concept that we will be using with the help of creating lightning components and at the runtime. And then we will see how we can create custom lookups in lightning. And then we'll also see that and the third point will be for only single record, single selection. And then after that we will be seeing how we can create a multi-select lookup in the lightning with the help of uh, component events. And then these two, third and fourth, will be the reusable components that can be used for any object and any field in case of when we say for the searching functionality. And then quick action API, we will see how we can invoke the quick actions from the lightning components to increase the performance, or we can say to improve the performance of our sales agents. And then we have lightning EMP API, so that to work with the different streaming events like push topic notification, platform events, or change data capture. And then we will see how we can use our lightning component to any external site that is not a Salesforce environment. So I hope the agenda is clear for the advanced development lifecycle. And so let's go ahead and work on the for the today's agenda, that is dynamically creating the component and then creating the model. Though we have covered these two things while we were working on the basic concept, but that was very short and brief introduction. So for dynamically creating the lightning components, we have two methods under a utility class that is called as A. One is create component for creating the single component if you want to create only single component at once. And then the second one is $a dot create components, by which we can create multiple components at once. Let's say that if you want to create more than one input in a single go, you can use the second option, that is $a dot create components. So here we are going to see all these two. So let's see how it works. So we have a create component method that accept three parameters, that is string of type object, what kind of attributes, what kind of component, what kind of information that we wanted to create at the runtime, and then what are the attributes for this, and then the function callback. So here you can see I have put some basic description for all these three parameters. One is type object, that means what is the type of object that we wanted to create. Let's say that lightning caller input, lightning caller button, dual box, lightning caller map, whatever we wanted to create here we can create. And then the attributes, say that aura id, on click in case of button, on change in case of input select, all that. And then there is a callback function that itself accept three parameters, that is component, the component that we created, and then the status, either it has been successfully created the component or we are getting any kind of error. And then the status message, whatever the message is there, that is either if we have error or uh, we are able to successfully creating the components. So here let's go ahead and see the next thing is that create component. So before we go ahead and see the multiple creating components at go, first let's go ahead and create single component. So here this is our Salesforce org where we are doing practice. So then here we are going to create a new component that we will say that dynamic create component. So here let's go ahead, create a component, name it dynamic create components, and then we are just going to save it, and here we will be putting some basic information. Let's say that we are putting a button here by which we are going to create some dynamic component. So lightning colon button, we will say that on click it will be, let's say that name it as c dot create component, and then we are going to put the logic, the whole logic inside this create on click. Okay, we forgot one thing, that is and label of the button. So we need to put a label as well so that we can see. So we will see that label create input, so we can see create input. Okay, so let's go ahead to the controller part, implement the method that we saw how we can use. So what we are going to use, we are going to use $a dot create component, and then inside create component, as we saw, we have three parameters. Then we will be writing all three parameters inside this with the help of attributes. Let's say that first one was type attribute, that is lightning corner input, and then we have attribute that were on the type of object. We can say that aura colon id, and then we can say aura id is test input, and then leave it. And then we have a function callback that we can say that function, and inside that function we have a component, let's say that input comp, and then status message. So what we are going to do, we'll just console.log status and then status message, and we'll see how what input we are getting over here in the console. So to see the output, we need to put our component inside here, inside the lightning application that we are already using as per our previous tutorial. So let's go ahead add that one here, that we will say that dynamic create components, save it. Okay, we are getting some errors, so what we'll do, we'll copy from here and then we'll paste here, save it. After saving, click on preview, and in the preview section, okay, what is we are getting incorrect use of ltng colon out app. Okay, and so we need to remove this, and then we will see what kind of, okay, we are saying create input, clicked. Now let's say on the inspect console, and we are getting that message is success, and we are not nothing getting in the message status message. Why we are not getting the message? Because we are able to successfully create the components. If you are getting any kind of error, then we will be getting the whatever the error message is here. So let's do one thing first. Instead of lightning out, let's implement css so that we can see some cool look and feel for our lightning application, like this. And then after that, as you can see that we are able to successfully able to create the button, but we are not able to see, sorry, we are able to create the input, but we are not able to see input over here. So for that, what we need to do, whenever for any component we have an attribute that we know, that is the body attribute that is predefined, so we don't need to declare this particular body attribute. So let's go for the controller first. What we'll do, we will fetch the attribute using component.get, that will be using v.body, And then inside body we will be putting let's say that body dot pose input component, and then we will be setting component dot set v dot body and then body, so that we can get the updated value. So here we will see component dot set, and then this will be our body here. So now let's see, go ahead, refresh the page and see how it works, if it is working or not, and then we will see how it is cool to create the components. Okay, so let's click on the button create input and let's see. You can see here we are able to see. Okay, so now if we want to, like we haven't provided any label, so we can also provide here some, let's say that label, and we can say that dynamic input and then save it, and then after we can try again after refreshing the page. Create input, you can see label is also dynamic input. Okay, now what if you wanted to refer a custom action over here? So let's go ahead and create a one more action that we can say that we will say that dynamic action, let's say, and then we will see that function and all the parameters that we wanted to. So here we can see, and then we can also put a alert here, let's say that test action. So let's say that here on change we wanted to call some method, so we can say that on change, and then here we cannot directly call this dynamic action. So what we need to do, we need to use component dot get reference, and then here we need to use c dot the method name. So now let's see and how it works on change, if the method is working or not. And we will see create input, you're able to see input, and let's say that type my name, and you can see that text action. Every time it's changing, the action is being called. So this is how we can create a single input with the help of lightning, sorry, $a dot create component. And then we can here, if you like, let's say that if you want to create a button and then you want to put the action here, you can see we already saw that case as well. You can also, but you cannot provide the RID, dynamic RID over here. And so let's go ahead and see how we can use multiple, how we can create the multiple component at once. Let's say that here is and the simple example we have that create components that takes two parameters instead of three. If you go back, you can see that we are using three parameters type of the component that we wanted to create, what are the attributes, and then what is the callback function. Here it takes the create components method takes only two parameters, array of components, you can see, and then function callback, and then callback function will itself take three parameters, components status messages list. That means this status messages list will be containing the messages for each component. That means let's say that these two components are successfully created and this component has some failure reason. So this message list will contain three messages, two for success and the third one for the failure message. So let's go ahead and see how we can create the multiple components at one go. So what we do, we'll create one more method. We'll see that we can say create components multiple, and then we'll call a method and we'll put the complete logic over here with the help of $a dot create components. So what we need to do first, we can prepare a component list that was list of array. If you go back to the presentation slide, you can see array, or you can also create a list and then push all those over there. How it works, let's say that you created a list, now you are pushing the array over here. You can also use push, and then inside push you can use, let's say that lightning input. I can use that as well. Oops, inside that I have to use this. And then I can also, let's say that I also want to create a button here. We can say that lightning colon button. You can say label. I can also use variant, that is brand for me, and you can say that dynamic button, or ID you can say that test button. And then we can try if it is working fine as per whatever we are trying to build the lightning create component. So after that here, this is the push, and then we can use $a dot create components. And then inside create components, as we saw, it takes two parameters. That first one is array of components, whatever the components here we have, then it takes array of components. And then the other one is function, then you can see here callback function. Okay, so here instead of console, we are just putting console.log, that is input component, and then status message, sorry, status message body we are not setting. Let's save it. We are getting some errors. Where is that? Okay, it's on, not on change. First of all, it's on click. Now let's see what is happening. Okay, here we are missing a colon here, comma. So now let's go ahead, create another button over here, and that will say, and we'll call the new method, that is create component multiple, and we will say that create components. So let's go ahead, refresh this, and see what is the updated output. Here we can see create components. First we'll see create input. It's working. Test action. Now let's create components. It is also working. You can see we are getting 0 1. Why we are getting 2? Because we have only 2. You can see whatever all that is test input, then dynamic input, whatever the attributes are that we given, and then you can see what is the name of the component. So you can see all these things over here. Now if you want to set those over a body, so what we need to do, as we are ready, as we know that we have two parameters over here, we are providing creating two components. So one will be a 0 and then other will be, so here what we need to do, we just need to put 0 and then we need to put 1. So we will be able to create 0 and 1 and then set back those components. So here test input 2 2 2 anything. Now that's cool. So let's go ahead and see if it is working or not. So click on create components. You can see dynamic input 2 2 is also working. Test action is also working. This is also working. So this is how we can create components dynamically with the help of $a.create component, or with the help of create component multiples. So what is like where we can use this component, that, so let's see how and where we can use this. So next we have overlay library. Overlay library is basically used for creating the model. And when we say that model, uh, if you remember that in our application we are displaying some information in model, the beer information whenever user is clicking on view detail. That was a very simple use case for that. We can also use, if you wanted to, let's say that we are displaying, let me open our paint over here so that I can make you understand very well. Let's say that this is a table that we are displaying a number of record, and next to each record we have some buttons like delete, edit, and we want to ensure that if particular some user is clicking on edit, a pop-up should open with some selected fields. If user is clicking on delete, a pop-up should open for the confirmation, and then after that user can delete the component. So in these simple cases you can go for a dynamic creating components. You can also face you will also face some real-time scenarios where you will be needing to dynamically creating the components so that you can increase the performance of your lightning component. So for next what we'll do, we will dynamically create the a modal with the help of lightning overlay library. So before we go ahead, let's see what a modal contains. So if we say that modal, so a modal has a header section and a footer section and then a body. So modal is basically contains of three things. If you see here as well, a header section, a body, and then we don't have footer over here. So the same thing that a lightning overlay library provides us, it has custom method that is called as so custom modal. You can use that one and then provide the required parameters values that you wanted to. So before, let's open component library, and we'll see what are all methods available for overlay library. We have two, so custom popover, and then we have one more that is so custom modal. So we will be going through with both methods. So let's see overlay here. You can just copy this particular. We will say that we will be creating new component. So you can copy this, click on new lightning component, and we'll say that custom modal, and let's say copies record page, and replace this with our code that we copied here, and remove this as well. So that okay. So now if you see, we have a method called create custom modal. So we also need to use this particular method in our controller, and we will see how this works. So click on controller, paste that code over here. So first what we need to do, we need to refresh. Okay, so here let's go ahead for the code. What we did, we just used lightning on overlay library tag over here in our component, and then we created a button name that is modal, so modal, and then on click we are just clicking calling the javascript method. And here you can see we declared a variable that is modal body. So as we are here content, you can see the function content, modal content. So let's say it's a custom component, right? So what we need to do, we can just go ahead, instead of custom component we can just put our component, and then remove this because we already using a create component. Okay, so let's go ahead, do one thing before making it complex. What I'll do, I'll copy the code once again, and okay, so what I'll do, I'll just show you how modal comes up. That's it. So here in the modal body I'll say that this is test modal body, nothing like that. I'm just using component.find. That means the overlay library, the or id of that overlay library, we have to use that. You can name it any of your choice, and then the method of custom model. So here we can find this detail, the detail of this method. So let's go ahead and click on specification, and if you scroll down you will see that there are two methods, that is custom model and custom popper. So we can use this, and then we also have close, hide and show method for closing, hiding and displaying the model as per our condition if you want it. So let's go ahead and we'll see how it works. Refresh the page, click on show model. Okay, we are saying that create read property any of endpoint. This is why this is not working. I'll tell you first. Let me show you where it is working, and then I'll let you know what is the main reason that not working the modal in Lightning standalone application. So what we'll do, we will open an account record. We will use that component inside the account record detail page, and then we'll try there. So edit the page, and then after editing the page, you will be able to see your component here. You can say that custom modal, and this modal we will be dragging drag and drop this modal, this component, save it back, and here you will be able to see the modal that whatever the content we have put inside our JavaScript controller. Click on that button, you can see this is a test body, and if you click on close you will be getting the alert. Why you close the alert? Because in the close callback function, if our code you can see close callback function, we are just putting an alert. Here in this close callback function, what you can do, you can put the logic whatever you wanted to put after the modal has been closed. So this is we just put the alert over here for that, and this is show close button true. So what is the effect of that? This button is, if you put the false you will not be able to see the button here as a false, sorry, the close button here if you are putting this false. So make it as a true if you want to. If you don't want, you can uh, use whatever you wanted. So now this is just a static text that we have given here, and now if you wanted to put some component over here inside body, so what you need to do, first you need to create a component with the help of that $a.create component, and then inside the function callback, if that particular status is success for the component that we are creating, then you can call this show modal method. So if you control Z this complete method, you will be able to see whatever here we are doing. We are just doing C. We are using $.create modal. This is a custom modal content that we don't have, so we are going to use our lightning colon input. Or instead of lightning colon input, what we can do, we can just use lightning layout component. So we'll just use lightning layout component. This is the component. Either you can put this component that you wanted to create over there, or you can use existing component that we have in our system. And then we are checking content status, and then you can also put status message, and we are checking if status is success, then modal bodies will be content. Why? Because we have only one layout over here. Sorry, we have only one component over here, and then we are showing that modal body whatever the content we are able to create, and then we can say that custom modal header, and then let's go ahead, refresh the page, and see how it works. So now let's show modal. You can see we are able to see the component that it is saying that I'm in lightning, and whatever the content we have in that inside that component, you can see also this. So now you will definitely say that we saw for creating the multiple components at once with the help of $.create components. So you will definitely want to see that. So let's go ahead create a data table component for that as well. So what we are going to do here, we are going to use mm, inside this array, this is first array that will be responsible for holding the array of components. So let's say that this is the second array that doesn't have any attribute, this component, and then we will also having that is other that is also doesn't have any attribute, and then we don't need to put all these. Okay, if you want to compare this, you can go ahead and see the component whatever array the first sorry, yep, this is the first array where we are pushing, and that inside that array we have array of array. So basically this is nothing, it's an array of array. And then here now what we'll do, we will get model content, it will be 0 model body, and we can also say that let's say that we have a footer, we wanted something in the modal footer, you can say that modal footer. Okay, let's save it, and we need to declare over here as this as well. Okay, so to put the footer we have an attribute, you can go ahead here and we'll see what the attribute is. Let's go here, and we have one thing that is something called as footer. So let's go ahead, put that footer here, go back to the component and see if you are able to see some difference in our component with the help of multi-create component. So model, okay, type must be a whirling create components. Okay, it should be create components instead of create component. So make it create components, save it, refresh the page again, and see the code in action. Custom model, you can see this is the body and this is the footer. So now let's see, you can see in the footer we have a data custom data table, we have action show detail, you will also see the show detail. If you wanted to delete, it will be deleted. So this is how it works. So basically in the footer we didn't put these kind of details. In the footer we may put some button that is cancel or continue. So for that you can also create a new custom component, cancel and continue, and then you can try. And so, and this is the basic thing that you can create modal with the help of dynamic creating components. You can see if you click on this, that will be alerted. That means now we have that component as well here that increase the performance of the component whatever the lightning component is using the $a.lightning create. So now if you're wondering why it was not working here in the component, sorry, in the lightning standalone application, so as it's a beta version, it has some limitation that it doesn't work in lightning standalone applications. So we have to use that those tags inside whenever we are working with the inside lightning application, lightning environment, not a standalone lightning application. So let's see what we have for the next. Okay, we already saw this one. Okay, this is the custom popper. So when we say that custom popper, that means if you wanted to show some basic information on the hover of some component, or on the click on component you wanted to show some basic information. So then you can go for show custom popper. You can also use body, reference selector, and we have multiple attributes. And then you can use then set timeout or what you wanted to use. So let's go ahead, go to the lightning overlay library, and if you want to use custom popper, you can say, okay, let's, and this is for custom popper. So you can just copy this particular code, come to the component and paste this, and I'll explain you each and every part of the code. Copy this method controller. Okay, so do we have the class for the same? Yep, we have. So let's go ahead on the CSS. Okay, it's helper, not CSS. So CSS, we also have one more. Okay, so let me explain you the code that we have written for custom popper. What we need, what we did, we just did, we already have lightning volley library, so we don't need. We created a new button that is popper. The name of the label of the button is so popper, and then we are calling a method that is so popper. And we also have one division tag called whatever on mouse over. That means if you are taking that mouse over that division tag, we will be show the top popper over here. So what code is deciding what code we have written inside handle so popper, that we can go back to controller. The same thing we are finding with the help of our ID. We are using custom popper method, providing body, a reference selector, whatever the CSS class that we created, and we are immediately closing the overlay after 3 seconds. You can see after 3 seconds. So let's show that. Let's refresh the page and see what are the reflections, what are the differences that we are able to see with the help of popper. So if you mouse over, you're not. Okay, where is that content? Okay, so body, what we'll do, I'll try. Okay, instead of close, I'll try to put alert over here and see if I'm seeing any kind of alert. Let's refresh this. Are we getting any errors? Let's go to the inspect console. Are we getting any errors? Yep, we are getting error. What is the error that we need to check? Invalid character error. Okay, we can go. Let's remove this. Put at this only. Go back to refresh. Okay, we are still getting the error. What is the error? Action failed. It's saying that what we do have some. What? We don't have any character over here. We also don't have any special character. Why it's not working? We need to remove this as well. Just only body. Now let's see if this works. Yep, you can see this pop over here. You can see the message over here that is. So you can also then you can change here and let's say that, and you can reference, and then after you can see. So this is how you can use custom popper. So I haven't found any proper use case for this where you can use. You can see you can also use that this one. Now if you go back, I think, okay, if you use CSS class, my component, do we have that classes? I think, okay, let's refresh this again, refresh the page again. Okay, we are getting error because of this line, CSS class. So this is what how you can use, how we can create dynamically components in our Lightning application. We can use model, we can use, and we can create whatever the components we wanted to. And click off over and click up this pop-up, and you can see here it always it reference, and this is something says that, okay, this is why it's opening here, because the division is tag is ending over here. That is, this is what. So if you inspect here and select this, you can see this is why it's working, opening over here. So this is how you can use overlay library and all that. So this is it for today's session. If you have any question, you can come up in a comment section. If you want me to create videos on any other lightning component scenarios, you can tell me on the comment section. I hope you guys have learned something new, some new concept over here, how you can use lightning overlay library. So see you on next video. Thank you guys.